Karina and my channel is called Lifting Pins and Needles. Welcome. And in this video I want to share with you my experience of making the Kemptown jacket by Pier and Palace. Now I am going to put in here some pictures of the jacket on the website and of the line drawings. As you can see, it's a moto style, sort of biker style jacket, and I thought it was really interesting the way the zipper was slanted, and I knew from the get-go that this wasn't going to be like an easy make. It's not something that you're going to whip up in a day or two, you know. So from the very start I decided to take this really slowly. I did it all in different stages. Whenever I was feeling tired with it, I would leave it aside and do other things, because like I'm not a monogamous sewist. I do dabble in different projects at the same time, which means I'm changing the threads on my overlocker and my sewing machine, but I try to sew what is inspiring me at the moment. So if this was making me tired, I would leave it and then come back when I was ready to continue. So I'm gonna say this is not for a beginner. For the main body of the jacket, there are 11 pattern pieces, you know, just for the body, and then you have a 2-piece sleeve, so that's 4 more. That's 15 pattern pieces just for the jacket. And then for the lining, the way I did it, there was 11 pieces more. So I didn't line the sleeves. That made me a total of 28 pattern pieces to make this jacket. I chose my size based on the finished garment measurements of the shoulders and sort of upper body. I did some flat measurements, and the finished measurement they had for the shoulder from here to here was 12.2 centimeters for a size 16. So I decided to go with that size. I know it's not conventional to choose your size based on that, but because the jacket had so many seams, I knew I was able to fiddle with each seam and get it to fit me properly. Now the way that they offer you the pattern is in many ways, and I chose to print the pattern out without seam allowances, and that makes it super easier for me because I can mark the edge of my stitching line onto the fabric with whatever method, and then I just leave a 2 centimeter seam allowance basically around everywhere. Then I can go and pin on the stitching line, try it, and then go adjusting from there. When seam allowances are included in patterns, then it just gets really confusing to do that, you know. So I preferred that way because I knew that I was gonna have to fit it to my body, you know. The instructions for this jacket are quite extensive, and they come in a booklet, and it's not just the instructions. So at the beginning of the booklet they show you how to do different techniques that they recommend to making the jacket. These techniques I chose not to do. One of them being interlining every pattern piece and then doing a Hong Kong finish on all the pattern pieces and then constructing. Now I'm not adverse to interlining. I have done that many times in the past, but not for a jacket. Like I've done it on dresses that are made out of chiffon, where I want the bodice to have that structure. You can't just have a really thin flimsy fabric on a bodice. So I have done that before. I think last year was the last time I made that. I'll insert a picture of the dress. Very flowy, thin chiffon. So I interlined every single piece, and then I also lined it. My dress has 3 layers. Now, for this jacket, if you were going to make it out of boucle or a loose woven, you can even interface each piece to give it stability, and interline and line. I mean, you can go for gold, but it's just that for my context, in my weather, I don't need all those techniques, and I didn't need that for this stretch cotton that used to be a baby sling, you know. The fabric is nice and structured as it is, you know. I didn't need to do all those steps. All my jackets, I try to make them as fresh as possible, so I just sewed up my jacket the traditional way, normal body, normal lining, attach them together at the front, the neckline, you know, with facings. I did it the way I made all the other jackets you have seen on the channel. I'm now going to insert all the process of me making it. Don't worry, it's not a step-by-step, or else we'd be here for hours. You'll see that I get to a point of the sleeves, and that's where I stopped filming because I got frustrated at that point. But there's a lot of things to see, and that's coming now. This pattern actually comes with this paper where it's got the line drawings with all the panels, and you can have a play with coloring in. It actually says there, coloring in page. So I'm gonna do the sleeves fully black. That lateral panel there, princess seams, will be the printed fabric with the black and the tiny white flowers, and then these symbols are the other one, you know. So it's quite crazy. I had a bit of fun playing around, and this was just to help me figure out with what fabrics to cut what pattern pieces. So this is what it's looking so far. This is totally hand basted. I have done nothing on the machine yet. And when you open up this lapel, this is the fabric that's going to be on show. So you can see the lateral panels there with the princess seam dark, then lighter, then dark again. And then, yeah, it's a bit nuts. Now on the other side, it's looking like that. This is the back. I have sewn every single seam already. The only seam that is still hand basted is this princess seam. So can you see the back shaping, how nice it is? That little rounded shape, and then it goes in at the small of your back and then out. Now this is quite cropped, as you can see. Don't mind my flowery pants under there. And you can see this part here is where the zipper will go. So I have pinned that on there just to check for the fit. I like the fit because the way I've done it on myself makes for a nice arm side. Everything here across the chest, the back. So at this stage, I'm super happy to finish sewing up. And inside, I'm just gonna match the little modifications I made onto the lining fabric. And yeah, I'm quite happy to just go ahead now. I'll try to show you the small changes I made to the pattern to fit me. So these pattern pieces are cut without seam allowance. Pier and Palace give you that option. And because I know it was a jacket pattern, I knew I was gonna alter to fit me. I'd rather have it with no seam allowances because it's just so much easier. So this is the front middle panel that has that flap thing, you know, like the lapel bit. So that's the one that goes in the middle. There's absolutely no changes there, around the shoulders. But now coming down my bust height, I did have to give it extra space, a little bit, 5 millimeters, half a centimeter out there. Now the piece that goes next to that one, so that curved line goes attached to there. Same distance, giving me more space there. And then this is the part that attaches to the princess seam. Same, about half a centimeter extra on each side. Now the princess seam at the very top, I didn't need to make any modification, and I made the same modification I did on this seam to that because it goes together. Now the side seams here for the first 7 centimeters down, no change, and then giving me extra width. And that matches this one. This is the lateral back panel. Same, 7 centimeters, no change, and then giving me extra space at the hip. This is the back piece lateral, so this is the middle one. There's no changes to the middle seam. Actually, this piece is basically unchanged. Only here at the bottom, there's a tiny bit more that will match that little piece that goes under it. And there I've given myself more space. And here on the side as well. So I have brand new pattern pieces. So for these princess seams here, I have just left 1 centimeter of seam allowance. It makes it easier to press and it makes less bulk. I don't have a ham, so I have a rolled up towel under there. So I'm gonna press these 2 seams open and then I'm gonna show you how I clip them. On this convex shape of the princess seam, meaning the outside bit, if I just snipped and pressed, because the seam allowance comes this way, there's going to be a lot of bulk. So what you do is cut little triangles. So snip little triangles, and I did loads. Now that curve is quite pronounced. Now on the concave part of the princess seam, this one, when you press your seam allowance, you just need to snip and see how the seam allowance opens up. You can see that curve there, how it does that little curve really nicely. Again, I've got my towel there so you can see the shape. There's no pockets, there's no pulling, it's just a really nice smooth curve, and that's how I want the princess lines to fit. That's why it's very tempting to line your jacket or bodice or whatever when there's a princess seam, because if you wanted to finish the seam with overlocking or something and all these cuts are there, it could get a bit awkward, you know. So far I've finished almost all of the lining. I've attached the facing pieces to the lateral bits there and the facing on the top to the back. Now I have a little princess seam lateral panel that unites with the back that I'm not going to do right now. I'm going to now attach this to the main jacket and sort out the zipper. So here is the main body of my jacket. Now the zipper goes attached all the way up here to the top, and the other side goes attached from here to there, sort of thing. So I'm going to do that and attach the lining and facing on this neckline area first. My jacket looks like a blob. So my main body of the jacket is inside here, and on the outside we have the facings with part of the lining. And so I've got right sides together, you know. I've pressed the hems up already on the main body of the jacket. You can see some lining fabric hanging off there. But anyway, I have half of the zipper inside. You can see I've got an extra long zipper. I've got to trim it out there to match this length. So I'm going to do one continuous stitch now from down here, catching that zipper up, pivoting around the neckline to the other side, pivoting there and finishing off at the bottom. See, the bottom of my zipper is right there, and this is where the hem is going to be. I've got to be careful here to trim the right amount so that I don't break my needle when I'm trying to get rid of this. From the middle of the facing at the bottom, I do a quick pivot and then I start going up the side that doesn't have the zipper. This goes pretty fast. I pivot again, start going around the neckline. This is curved, so I take my time. I'm doing it fast here because I don't want to bore you with all the sewing. Now, when I'm getting to the other side, you see me slow down, and I'm going to remove my normal zipper foot and get that little thing out, trim the zipper, change to my zipper foot now, do a few stitches very slowly, as you can see, until I'm over the zipper. Then I pivot, and then I'm on the home stretch for the zipper. Then I just go really fast all the way down. Now I guide myself by the side of my zipper foot, so I'm more even there. And when I get down to the bottom, again I slow down very slowly, pivot again, and then sew up about half of the facing at the bottom. And then I'm ready to sort of cut some of the bulk there that's going to be underneath, as you're going to see. There I'm finishing. Finally, back stitching. There I've clipped a bit of that bulk, and when I turn this around, you're going to see my zipper is enclosed in there, and I'm sort of done with this step for now. I've attached on one side of the zipper there that goes up to the top of that lapel, and I've done everything up there, the facing, all that. Now is to, I've already done a basting stitch on this seam only, but I need to put this other piece of zipper in here. And actually, it starts there to meet the other side, and I have to measure where it's gonna attach on, and then I have to snip it as well. I have to trim it because this zipper is way too long. So I'm gonna do this side of the zipper then, and then I'll be ready to attach on and finish on the lining pieces there. So I've zipped up the other side of the zipper to match there the part that I've already attached onto the jacket, and I've made a mark there with chalk so that I know how many little teeth I have to remove with these pliers. Annoying. Then I go ahead, put that inside my seam as I showed you. I remove that basting stitch and put the zipper in there, sandwiched in between, and then I'm going all the way to the bottom. At some point I had to stop and move that little thingy up, and then keep going. Cool. So you see me get up to where I finished doing the zipper, all that was good, you know, I was happy with the fit. And then I thought, oh, well, I'm on the home stretch now, just attaching on these sleeves, it's gonna be super easy. So I went and I sewed up my sleeves. They were 2-piece sleeves, you know, like the ones that have a seam here and then a seam here at the back. But then, you know, there was no notches on the main body here on the arm side, so I would know where to match. I looked on the instructions and it just had like a picture where it just said just put the sleeve in, basically. So yeah, I had a lot of problems. I'm going to insert here some photos of me fitting the jacket and how the sleeve was looking after several attempts. I was working late at night, so you can see all the puckers and gather. Oh, I just could not get a good result with sleeves. I even thought of making it sleeveless. I was so frustrated. So I left my jacket aside, I came back to it. I took off the sleeves, I looked at the sleeve pieces, and then I had a slight suspicion and I went to my pattern pieces. And I'm going to show you what I did. So this is the inner sleeve, the one that goes underneath. And you can see I've got here the cutting line for the size 16, you know. So I basically started cutting up to there, but then on this curve I got confused and I cut a size 8 on this side. So there should be more lines up here, you know. So, oh gosh, so I deconstructed my sleeve. These are the X inner sleeves, you know, got all the threads I had to unstitch. And I'm going to show you the real pattern piece for the size 16. So if you compare them, so up to here we're good, but look at the difference in the curve there and the width. And that's why the sleeve was so mega tight, and this curve here was just making no sense with this arm side. And once I figured out what the problem was, cut a new undersleeve piece, the right size, then it seemed to match up better. So I'm going to show you the jacket. I'm going to stop blabbing. You've already seen most of the details when I showed you the process, but this is how it looks all finished. I hand hemmed the lining at the bottom like I usually do, you know, and you can see that I did compromise and do a Hong Kong finish only for this seam, you know, around the sleeves. You can see I've got black satin bias tape there. So that's the extent of Hong Kong finish I would do on a jacket, because I don't usually press this seam, and so the satin bias binding, though it creates a bit of bulk, it won't be visually apparent on the outside of the jacket, you know. I'm super happy with it. I did some top stitching there on the lining to the facing because this stretch satin wouldn't want to lay flat, so I top stitched that down. Here are my new sleeves. After several attempts and pinning, I pinned it on myself so many times. This undersleeve there, I don't know if it was supposed to match this princess seam. It's not specified in the instructions at all. Mine don't match there because I fitted it on myself to get the correct position of the sleeve, like for my shape of my arms. And so, you know, this is the best result I could have. Now the end of the sleeve here, it's 3/4 sleeves, was super tight. And I'm working with like a stretch cotton here. It was really tight around here. So I was thinking what to do. And I remembered watching a video by Fanny, So Many Fabrics. She showed on a pair of pants, on a So Long Laura pants from Tessuti, had a little slit as a detail at the bottom of the pants. And I thought, oh, that could be a solution. So maybe you can't see, but I'll insert a picture here of the slit and how it looks inside. Very nice technique. If you have a really simple like garment, you can add this sort of design to create some interest. In my case, this is totally functional. So my slit is about 3.5 centimeters, and it gives me that little bit of ease that I needed right there for my arm. So this is my wearable toile. I know now that this is gonna fit, the arm size is gonna fit, but I will give myself a little bit more ease on the sleeve, just a tad more, like maybe a centimeter or so. I can still move around, it's pretty comfortable. So I'll show you some pictures trying to showcase the jacket. So I'm super happy with it, and I like that the zipper gives you so many options of how to wear it, you know. And I'm going to be inserting here some action shots of myself. Like you could zip it up all the way to the top if you're like cold, or you could zip it down just up to your bust and let one of the lapels like hang down, giving that asymmetrical look. And I really dig that look, asymmetrical things. I think they're cool. And then if you just want to be more traditional, just let both lapels hang open, or just wear it zipped open, a nice relaxed loose sort of fit. So yeah, I'm happy I made this. I want to make it in a solid now. I'm happy with everything about it, and though it took extra time, it was one of the satisfying projects of my month, you know, because it took a long time to make. And I'm happy I challenged myself to make it, because I really like this style. And if you wanted to go and purchase a jacket this style, it would be so expensive, you know, and to get it to fit the way you want it to fit, you know. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the notifications so you never miss a sewing tip with me. Bye.